The opinions and comments expressed on this show are a representation of the cast and the cast only. Nothing said on this show is intended to disrespect or offend any one person or group of individuals. We are solely here to talk our shit, and that is what we fully intend to do. This is Talk to Me Nice.
What's going on, people? Thanks for tuning in. We got a great show for you this week. I am your host, CP The Real, and this is Talk to Me Nice. I'm joined here by the crew, the family, Mr. Poke Fit, a.k.a. Chris Poke. Across the table, everybody's favorite big homie, Mr. Von Solo. As tradition here on this show, every week we're going to bring to you a specialty drink of ours. This week, sip of the week is Hit and Run. It's pineapple rum and a little splash of orange juice. This is that drink when you're living your best life out there with your fellas and your ladies. You know, one of those nights you wake up somewhere you don't know where you're at, next to somebody you don't know who they are. You know what I mean? But one time for the one time to life experiences, good or bad.
Hit and run.
Hit and run,
baby.
Got an interesting topic for you guys this week. I think that we can all apply it in all aspects of our life. The topic is breaking the cycle, generational curses, both the past, the present, and the future. Again, this is something that we all battle with. I think a lot of the majority of things that we know growing up are not things that we've determined on our own, not things that we've identified on our own. The things that have been passed down to us from family, friends, or just influences in our life. So some of those things are negative in many cases, and I think that in society we're battling those things and trying to figure out, you know, how we potentially break those cycles, how we necessarily unlearn some of those negative habits or, you know, philosophies that have been handed down to us. So I want to dive into that today. Big homie?
Interesting you said that. Learn, unlearn, to learn. I think we've been doing that as black people since we been over here in America, to be honest with you.
Trying to unlearn?
Yeah. Well, we haven't necessarily been trying to unlearn. First of all, to unlearn, you got to be conscious first that you learned the wrong way the first time. You know what I'm saying? So we've been passing on a lot of habits. That's what I like to call it, because when I first thought about the topic, curse is a strong word to me. Curse is a very strong word to me. I think you can attribute a lot of our things to bad habits that are passed on. You know, we can only learn. Our first teachers are usually our parents. Our parents, and just because they teach you don't necessarily mean that it's, you know, the right and correct thing to do. And so I think once we realize some of the things that we don't like as we're growing up, I think we are cognizant about what's going on when you're growing up. So when we become adults, we try to change some of the things that happened when we were growing up, you know, especially if you're a kid who grew up and didn't have nothing. You know, you always wanted to have something, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to break that curse, but at least you know, it was something that you didn't like or something was wrong. I always felt like some things were wrong when I was growing up. You know, I just disagreed with my silent disagreement at that, because, you know, when I grew up, it wasn't none of that talking back, period. So we just listened to our mom, and we trusted our parents. But, you know, as I became an adult, I said, man, I don't think I necessarily agree with that, you know, with a lot of things across the board. So you know, just from the onset, just the word curse to me, I think, is a little strong. Okay. But I will call it habits. And we all have the onus on each one of us to have personal development. Right. If you get on a job and you get professional development, why don't we develop ourselves on a daily basis? Right. You know, we constantly learn, and I think some of us stop the process of learning, stop the process of trying to go out and seek knowledge, and we have to all consciously try to work on that part of our lives.
You think that's all genetic? Because I was doing some research the other day, and neurobiologists call it epigenetics, and it's basically the inheritance of genes. So basically things that get away from. But that goes into many different forms: disease, character flaws, addiction, and then the psychological indicators of things that we're talking about being passed down, right?
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that. I was gonna say some of it's genetics.
Yeah,
some of it's genetics. Some things are definitely passed on to the next generation. Everything from attitude and personality. We are our parents.
Absolutely.
Right.
We cannot get away from that.
I agree.
But I think it starts from within. One thing I really appreciated about being able to play sports throughout my life, you had the opportunity to be your own worst critic, and you used to criticism. But people who haven't been exposed to that, a lot of times, I think they have a hard time self-analyzing themselves and being critical of themselves. And sometimes they get themselves a pass on things. It's up to us ultimately to break the quote-unquote cycles and curses in our life. If you want to call it a curse or whatever you call it, when something is not really right or working for you. You know what I mean? And it's up to us to try to evolve and try to learn and learn from all these situations that we are put in, and then the situation that we put ourselves in.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So let's tap into that, because I think all three of us at the table are pretty self-aware. So because you said being conscious was the first step,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
So Chris, I mean, at this age point in your life, I mean, have you identified a quote unquote generational curse that's been passed on to you?
I wouldn't say a curse. I would say a habit. Because I know growing up, I was spoiled. I got whatever I want. Basically, my mom, my dad gave me whatever I wanted because, they didn't have it back in the day when they were growing up. So, they didn't want me to be that same way growing up as well. So that was a downside to that. So the downside is, me being spoiled, you become stubborn. You learn stuff the hard way. And by doing that, my dad, he was the same way growing up. He got whatever he wanted. He was spoiled, stubborn, all this other stuff. So I feel like I noticed that now. So I feel like it's my choice and it's my job to break that habit rather than a curse.
Great segue. So my question would be, how are you coping with that? If that's something that you've identified at this point in your life, how are you coping with that? How are you managing that?
Just taking the initiative and just learning from my past. Because, like I said, we all have a choice to evolve or regress.
What do you think? I had a question. Spoiled. How do you define what is spoiled in your definition, and how do you think that being spoiled has affected you as an adult?
Me being spoiled is like getting whatever I want, when I want it, how I want it. As far as detail goes, like that.
Let me ask you this though. I mean, you got a job, you work hard, right?
Yeah.
So that's a great question you're
Yeah.
asking. You work hard. So what's wrong with you buying what you want, getting what you want? I mean, how do you differentiate that from, rewarding yourself for
Right.
being a hard worker versus being a negative trait?
Because I don't want to ever go back to my parents asking them for anything. Because I've always, despite me being spoiled, I was always self-motivated.
Yeah.
I always wanted to get stuff done how I wanted to be done. Although I was spoiled, I had to make that choice early in age that I had to do things my way. Because I know leading into entrepreneurship, I had to do things my way. I had to call my own shots.
Absolutely. So how you plan on breaking that for the next generation? For your kids or anybody that you mentor? I know you do a lot of stuff in the community.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
You've acknowledged how this has impacted your life. What is the next step? So being conscious is obviously the first step. Managing it within is the second step, and then breaking the cycle is the next step.
I think that it needs to come with structure, because a lot of us, like growing up, we didn't know certain things growing up because it was slid under the rug or the carpet, old school term. So I think leading into the next generation, when I have kids, I'm going to teach them how I got it done, and then they have the choice to create within that next time that they want to do something on their own.
Absolutely. Big homie, let's take it to you. What is and it sounds like we all don't really like the word curse.
Right.
So
You gotta.
I'm gonna stay away from generation.
Well, if you know anything about me, or to get to know me, is to know that I operate with a lot of. I got structure, but my mind is wide open. You see what I'm saying? I think a certain way, but I like to hear other people's perspectives. You know how some people like to, stuck in their ways, quote unquote, and they don't listen to anybody else. I like to learn from other people, and I love to listen to other perspectives. You know, when you start saying the words curse and or good or bad, you know what I mean? I think that's purely subjective. I think it's purely subjective, depending on who you're talking about, and I think there's a line between spoiled and getting what you need. Man, if you work for it, I believe you should be able to get what you want.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There was a big fight about, hey, I don't want cable and I'm getting a Fire Stick. I'll be damned. I'm coming home, you know what I'm saying? I've been working since I was like 14, 15, you know what I'm saying, on a real job, getting a check. So it's like, nah, man, I'm going, if I want a certain amount of channels on my TV, I'm going to get what I want to get because I work for it. Now some things, are kind of outside of, things that you actually need. But I think if you put in the time and you're doing things the right way and going about things the right way, you should be able to get what you want. But as far as kids are concerned and being spoiled, I think spoiled is something over, going above and beyond, a person's needs. That's what I see in my mind.
Right.
So I think some people call spoiled because a kid gets everything he wants. Maybe everything he wants is what he need, though. You know what I'm saying?
Or he's earned it.
Right.
Or he's earned it.
Great
Or he's
student.
earned it. You
Good
know what I'm saying?
good student,
Now,
responsible.
spoiled mean to me, now this is a great definition for me, when you're giving kids stuff and they don't deserve it.
Yeah,
Right.
oh, yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
That wasn't me.
You got an iPhone and all this stuff here, man,
But you
and we
failed.
walk up
But
in
you
your
failed,
room,
man.
filthy.
Absolutely.
And we got to keep telling you to do stuff. I don't think you are deserving of that stuff.
Right.
And I think we have, my generation too, man, us as parents, because I'm a parent now, I see some of the things that we've gotten a lot laxed than, the previous generation, my parents were, because we always, like Chris said, we always want to continue to give our kids better than us.
Absolutely.
But the thing, what I learned is that we're giving them the things that we didn't have, but we're not giving the things that we did have.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You got to back some things up with structure. And structure I think, is the only way we can break generational habits or curses, man. You got to...
So pinpoint it for me. You specifically.
For me?
Yeah. Generational. We're not gonna say curse. Habit. Generational.
What's
habit
something that was passed
down
on? My mom came from Mississippi, and there's a lot of things that happened back then. My mom was born in the 40s, so she came here. She was trying to get away from stuff, and she was introduced to a new life. So I don't think my parents did a lot of reading at all.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Not to say they wasn't smart. My mom and them got the job done. They were workers. They were blue-collar people. They hands-on. They love to help people. They're very loving people, and they got the job done. But they didn't spend a lot of time reading.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And I don't remember reading a lot of books when I was growing up. And, I don't know if that's to my demise or whatever, but as I've become an adult, man, I've learned to read a lot more, and it's helped me out. And I've also...
But how did it impact you? So you say you didn't read. I mean, what happened to you, I guess, when you got to a point where you said, okay, the fact that I didn't read has affected me, or did it impact you?
I think just being just knowing stuff.
Okay.
Overall knowing stuff.
Okay.
I could tell you several stories about now. Like, man, I wish I just had known.
Got it.
You know what I'm saying?
Got it.
And
And you think if you
your
would've been
parents
conscious
can
of-
only get you so far.
Absolutely.
You need other people that are around you to help build up somebody that's developing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's why you have teachers and you have other people to help. It's truly a village when you raising a child.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So I didn't even have aspirations of going to college, man. You got to understand, man, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have anybody say, hey, this is what you need to do. Even at my school I went to, man, they wasn't pulling kids to the side and say, hey, this is what you need to do.
So you think that if you would have taken a deeper interest into actually reading, those are things that would have manifested on their own for you?
I think they would have made me more aware.
Yeah.
And I would have had a wider range of knowledge, I think. Yeah. I just feel that way really deeply in my heart that reading helps you carry you over into or what we say scaffold you over into brand new knowledge.
Okay.
And without that, you just kind of taking kind of what you know. But that was one of the things that stuck out in my head, man. And so what I've done as an adult, I stopped keeping so many things to myself in my house. Like my books.
Oh, okay.
My books and my love for music. I had to start. I was keeping that stuff in my room. You know what I'm saying? For me, I started putting books. And one thing I learned from a lot of my smart friends, they got books out. They got books out sitting on the cabinets. They out. They part of the decorations. You know what I'm saying? I say, and when I come over, I sit down and start opening the book. I said, man, I'm gonna start doing that. And I got a bunch of books, but I don't share them with nobody.
Right.
And so I started putting them out where people could see my books, and and my kids would see them, and they start asking questions. They start asking questions.
They look everywhere. And they
yeah,
book.
yeah, man. So that was one of the things I tried to do. To try to turn that part around.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily call it a curse. I think that was one of the things I said, man, I wish, I had been into reading a little bit more, because reading is not only fundamental. It's that's what they used to tell us. It's kind of cliche. Yeah. It's kind of cliche, but it's the truth, man. It's the truth, man. It's so much knowledge out there to be learned.
And then, they say, what do they say? If you want to hide something from a black person,
put it in the book.
There you go.
Put it in the book, and you know what? There's a bunch of money sitting in the book somewhere, because we'll walk over them books, you know what I'm saying? That's a lot of knowledge, man. A lot of things that we don't know, man. And those, are other conversations that we can have. But man, reading is truly, man, one of the most powerful things that a powerful tool that we can use to carry over to our kids, because I work with kids every day. It's very powerful for them. And the ones that read a lot, I mean, they really on their toes, man. And so
you said something that I loved earlier. You said often we try to give our kids the things that we didn't have, and we forget to give them the things that we did have, right? Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm going to use the word curse. So a generational curse that I've identified for myself would be the inability to tap into emotions as a man.
Oh man!
And I think that's a whole nother discussion, But I mean that it goes so deep. I think that, to your point, my dad, great provider, man, great father. I never questioned the fact of whether he loved us or not. But my dad, my dad.
Know him real good.
Yeah, everybody.
Good.
Everybody at this table is family.
I know him real good.
So y'all know my father. Great provider, and he speaks with actions. So a lot of the things that he did, it was a direct reflection of him loving us and wanting the best for us. But in that same breath, I didn't necessarily get that verbally from him.
Absolutely.
There's not a lot and I don't know if it was just his generation or maybe his upbringing. So my father was, all y'all know, military, so we lived a military life. It's really structured, really just tough love, very strict, very firm. So I don't recall a lot of times to where it was just, quote unquote, that mushy, the stuff that you get from
your daddy not mushy.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, I know he not mushy at all.
Yeah, so the stuff that you get from your mom, right? So the point of me saying that is, growing up, I was often told what a man doesn't do.
Oh.
A man doesn't, lie. A man, doesn't steal. A man doesn't do this. A man, boys don't cry. On the flip side, I was never told really what a man is it's okay for a man to do. I was never told it's okay for a man to cry.
Machoism.
Yeah. I was never told it's okay for a man to feel vulnerable. It's okay to be scared. It's okay to be lonely. So those are things that I say were kind of passed down to me, and I think that it's affected me in the relationship areas, not just with a woman, but with my son, with a lot of the people that I interact with, because in my subconscious there's something that's telling me
you soft.
I'm not, or
man,
I'm not
be soft.
I'm not supposed to exhibit certain behavior.
Right.
So I've seen that play a role in relationships, not being able to tap in.
Right.
And I even find myself doing that with my son. You know what I mean? Stop all that whining, stop crying. Don't stand
Quit
like
crying
that.
like a little girl.
Don't stand like
That's
that.
what
Don't
we used to
sit
say, like quit crying like a little girl.
Yeah. I'm not
you're a
raising
coochie.
I'm not raising no sissy.
Machoism at its best.
Yeah.
And it was real prevalent around when your dad was coming around.
I bet.
And when my dad, your dad and my dad, how was your dad? Well, you don't know. Don't put you on the spot.
Yeah.
He ain't no 59. Don't do that.
I know the year.
My dad would have been
59.
70 something. My dad would have been 70, 71 or 72 now if he was still alive. Yeah. But he was an emotional dude. My dad was emotional, like for real. He was a street guy, and he did a lot. He went to prison and all that stuff. But one thing I respect about him, man, he never lied to me. He always told me he loved me, man. He always did, man. So I think, it's a balance. Right. There's a balance, man. You got what you needed. Our parents can only teach us what they know.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And I know your dad. He a tough guy. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? He loves y'all. Oh, he loves y'all. And it's the only way. And I think in society, people's perception of love is different.
Yeah.
Right.
Even though he don't say it, that man love you. I know it for a fact.
He shows it through his actions.
I know it for a fact. He love my kids and me too. You know what I'm saying?
So how do you think that changes over time? Because I will say this: there's a clear difference between when I was young, growing up, versus being an adult and having a kid. So today, my father and I have
y'all close.
We have very open conversation.
Yes,
and it is, Pop, I love you. I love you.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Why do you think that shifts? I guess when I become a man versus a child. Why do you think that there's a different message that a father would send a young man growing up versus when he's reached his peak and is having a level conversation?
I think he was still learning growing up. I mean, when you was growing up.
Yeah.
I think he was still learning. Because we never stop learning. Even as fathers. I'm not a father, but you never stop learning. You keep evolving, each year. So I see that now that you're a man, he's more open to showing you what he didn't show you growing up. So, and he doesn't want you to do the same thing to your son.
You got to be ready, I think.
Yeah.
It's about being ready.
Yeah.
I can't. It's some things that go over your head. You're not ready for it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's no different. It's no different from watching The Matrix.
Right.
Some things I gotta wait till you get to a certain point before I can tell you, because you won't be able to see it yet. You know what I mean? You won't be able to understand those different layers until you done been through some stuff. Yeah. Now I can talk to you now that you got your heart broke now.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? Well, because now it ain't no different from high school kids.
Yeah.
When you was high school, you didn't want to hear nothing from your parents. I'm tired of them, blah, blah, blah. You ain't trying to hear it because you're not ready yet.
Right.
You're not ready yet. And I guarantee from your father's perspective, ain't nothing like seeing your sons prevail. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And go through something and then persevere through it. Right. Man, that's a great feeling. I was there, and knowing he was there, maybe not physically all the time, he did what he's supposed to. He had a job to do.
Absolutely.
He had a job to do, and as a man, and as grown-ups and as adults, men, or male or female, we go through a lot of stuff, man, and it takes time to get to a point where we can meet, where we can understand things, and not only between two people, but within yourself. Right. Within yourself, man. It takes time to get to that point. Yeah. And so I know for a fact your dad has to feel it can't be a better feeling than seeing your children prevail. Right. And come to a level of understanding. Man, that's beautiful. I know y'all closer now.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know what I'm saying? I can tell by the way he hugged it. I say, look at that.
Yeah.
I remember the time, where it may not been like that because young people tend to take the mama side
Yeah.
early because we don't get to hear the daddy side
Yeah.
at all. And that's fine because we know you're gonna grow out of it one day.
Yeah, but
You
it's
know,
exactly what you said.
Yeah.
You get to a personal point where, like I said, I can remember things now. I'm sure we all can. 12, 13. Shit, you hate to hear your parents say.
Ooh.
But at my age now, I'm like, I get it now.
You get it.
Right.
And
Back
he
then,
know it.
You were so stubborn back then. You didn't want to hear it.
Yeah.
So it's like now that you're more mature and seasoned, it's like, all right, okay.
And maybe that's a part of the reason why two individuals would be able to connect at a later point. Because I don't
Absolutely.
think it's all on him.
Right.
I think it's my approach to my father.
I
now.
was
Like,
just gonna say
I
that.
get it, Dad.
It's a give and
He
take.
waiting on you. He waiting on you. Once you, he always loved you.
Yeah.
Period. We always gonna love our children, and we have find ourselves having to let them go.
Yeah.
And let them grow up. They'll come back.
Yeah.
They'll come back. That's why I tell, my kids' mom, when her and my oldest son were, going at it, I said, you gotta let them go. Let him go. We still here. I'm still here for him. He not trying to hear it right now. He'll come back. He'll appreciate everything that you didn't try. One thing he can't take away, or one thing we can't take away, is the fact that we were there. We were there.
Right.
We were there. Ain't nothing you can say about that.
All of
I
us
was
need
there for.
support.
Yeah, we all need support,
All of us
man.
need
We all
support.
need support. But I think parents wait. We wait on our kids to come back. We wait on our kids to come back, and usually they come back.
Yeah.
They come back. It's like, you know what, Dad, you was right.
Yeah.
You was right. I know everything that you told me was all love. Even though I didn't like to hear what you told me,
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And through that understanding, is love. Love is a very powerful thing. I think a lot of people take for granted. So, my dad wasn't like that. he did a lot of things that was on the other side. But you know what I can appreciate about him, that he always told me he loved me, man. And I do it to my boys.
Absolutely.
I didn't cry with mine, so I'm an emotional dude too. I'm real emotional
There's
about
nothing wrong
mine.
with that,
If
man.
I love you, I'm gonna tell you I love you. And I truly feel like I don't have any enemies, man, because I don't want to have no fight with nobody. It's all about love and trying to help people.
You seen your pops cry?
One time.
Are you gonna say the funeral? Is that it?
Nah.
No.
One time. So.
When the Cowboys lost.
When the
Nah,
Cowboys
man.
lost.
Nah, man. Funny story. Check this out. So, this was 2011. We were going to Florida to visit my brother. And the Jordans came out. The 11s came out. So, we were supposed to leave at a certain time, and my mom, myself, and my dad were going to drive down to Florida, and I didn't want to go because I wanted to get the Jordans. And so my mom was like, Chris, let's go. And then I saw my dad start crying. He was like, man, why you making your mom cry? And that was a bad sight for me. And
Wait. Pops was crying because Mom was crying?
well, he was crying because I was making my mom cry.
Oh, God.
So it's a connection because my mom and dad, they're in love, they're married, they have
Yeah.
an overall spiritual connection in every aspect, you know what I mean? So by me doing that, I felt bad, and that's one of the things that I never forget, and I was like, man, I'm never going to let him do that again.
Back that up. So you made your mom cry. What did you do?
I didn't want to go on the trip because I wanted to stay at home and be stubborn. And
So
get
he was-
Disrespectful
so he was-
son of a gun.
So he was
Ooh,
being
just
spoiled.
I
Being
was
spoiled.
being
That was
spoiled.
one of your spoiled
Right. That was one of my spoiled
rants.
traits. Yeah, right. And I can admit that.
Kicking and screaming.
Yeah, I wanted to get what I want. I wanted to get the shoes.
Like
I
a baby
look,
back.
I waited in line
Look,
for like
I'm-
8 hours. I didn't get them.
Look, he had me.
And that's your mama fault?
No, it ain't her fault. But I was trying to get the shoes. I was on a mission.
He had me leaning in. I'm thinking we about to have some lifetime,
Nah,
give me a
man,
story.
hey, man, you
Moral
gotta-
of the story, I made my daddy cry.
Right. But more of the
Disrespectful
story is like we all have choices to do what we want to do, as far as like the curses. I mean the habits of curses, whatever you guys want to call them.
All right. So aside from us individually, obviously we shared our personal experiences. Just in general, in society, why do you think that, the majority of people have such a hard time overcoming these obstacles? Because we have outlets. So one thing I'm thinking about is, everybody's situation is different, right? So everybody may not have the support system or the resources
there you go.
that we have, right? So when I start thinking about habits and curses and trying to better yourself for the next generation, therapy comes
Right.
to mind. You know what I mean? And that's one thing. If because I asked you what you've done to cope with it, for a period of my time, I actually went to see somebody professionally.
And there ain't nothing wrong with
Nothing
that.
wrong with
Absolutely,
that, man.
absolutely,
That's what's wrong with us too.
absolutely.
Especially a lot of
There's a difference between. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
not
go
to cut you
ahead. Go
off.
ahead.
Difference between psychologists and psychiatrists.
Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
psychiatrists.
We got us told. Black people we don't have one iota of an idea. You're like, well, you want to go talk to somebody?
Right.
We can fix that ourselves. Hell, I could have talked to you.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You could've paid me.
Oh man. And that goes back to what you said, man. We don't like to look weak and vulnerable, especially
Right.
men.
Right.
And again,
Vulnerability.
that's passed down
And-
from
Yeah.
Generation to generation,
Absolutely.
and it
Ego
goes
problems, man.
and it goes into, and you take that same man and you take him into a marriage. You take him into a marriage. This person is broke up and don't understand a lot of stuff. You don't even know how to deal with yourself, but you in a marriage.
Yeah.
Right.
You
don't
know
even
what I mean?
Who you are.
You don't even know who you are. That goes back to consciousness.
Yeah.
It always goes back to that. It always goes back to who are you?
Right.
Do you know yourself? And and we constantly evolve. We always changing, but we have to have some foundation in that. It's okay. It's okay to be in touch with your emotions.
Right.
But
Do you
there's
think
help.
people know? I mean, so
No.
obviously resources or outlets is a big, large part of it. But do you think they know? Like,
I think people need to just stop making excuses and humble themselves.
so you think they know?
Yeah, they do know. So here's the thing: when you know, you take action. You have two choices: you take action or you let it build.
But
to
you
the next
said when.
generation. Huh?
You said when, though.
Yeah, I mean,
You said when you know. What if that when never comes?
That's what I'm asking. So do you?
well, I mean, they have to know because either they gonna know or somebody's gonna put it out there to them.
So at some point, somebody.
At some point, sometimes somebody's gonna put it out there to them, especially if they're in a relationship. I know that my girlfriend had said something about me that I didn't want to admit. She was like, well, she said something, and I was like, okay. So I took on the.
Well, what did she say, Chris? I want to
Well,
know.
I mean, she said I was selfish. I was stubborn.
Well, you didn't want to tell us.
I mean, I have no problem telling that. To
Well,
anybody.
please do.
No,
Please
I mean,
advise. I
I
want to
mean,
know.
I am
Spill the tea.
I am kind of selfish. I am stubborn. I learned stuff the hard way, but that comes from my upbringing of being spoiled and not wanting to listen to my parents most of the time because I thought I was always right.
So what is that trigger in you that makes you self-aware, right? So you're able to say, okay, I've heard this from someone else, or I've come to this self-actualization.
Right.
What is it that triggers you to accept that versus somebody that could go 10 years, 15 years, 30 years and not breaking these habits?
Well, I mean,
Is it a traumatic event? I mean, what is it that makes you pump the brakes?
like an event, something could happen like an argument or, situation to where I don't want it to escalate because I know that I have the power to stop it because we all have choices to break these curses or habits.
So self-reflection.
Yeah.
But you think it comes from a lot of times from something traumatic before people actually start to look in the mirror?
Yeah, I guess you can say that. Yeah. I guess. What about you, big homie?
I think there's a couple things. Your resources, and knowledge. I don't think I don't think people know. I don't think people know because when you don't know, you continue to do the same stuff.
Right.
You continue to do the same
But
stuff.
how many people, to his point?
It's a lot of us running around here broken, and I'm telling you, telling you this because I mean, from where I'm at, there's a lot of broken people, and it's the same, and it trickles on down, and it continues to trickle on down. Women are having the same argument.
Right.
There's no man out there,
Right.
and it's not technically from a physical standpoint. That's from some other aspects too. We haven't got to the point where some of us haven't got to the point where we don't think we the problem.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
We always think
How you come out of relationships or any whether it's professional or something, don't look at yourself and say it was all them. Even in my divorce, I looked at it to see. I had to look at it to see what I did wrong. How can I get better from that? A lot of people don't say that at all. And I think, you have to know that you're doing wrong first, and it starts a lot of times with you being able to uh, be cognizant about yourself and your friends around you. Change, you man, that's man because we all on different. We all on different growth plans, man. You know what I mean? And your surroundings definitely influence your growth and development a lot. You know, and if you're not around a lot of people who self-reflect and do a lot of self-help and
repeat those cycles,
man, yeah, you're gonna keep doing the same thing. So you have to you can't expect something different by doing the same thing. So like Chris said, I think at some point we come to this realization that something has to change. Especially when stuff keeps happening over and over again. And I think we're a little bit more susceptible to being depressed these days. There's a lot of things you could be depressed about now. Especially adulting is hard. It's hard, man. It's hard out there. And what better way to start that rebuilding process with than with looking at yourself, looking within.
That's the first step.
Yeah,
that's the first step for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely trying to break it, man. So like you said, you got to take the good with the bad, right? So even some of the, and I guess I'm sitting here thinking as we're talking, and I guess I'm starting to form a better understanding of why you said curses is subjective, right? So I think that it carries a negative connotation to it.
It does.
But however, some of the things that someone could identify as a curse could potentially have positive outcome.
Always. There's always potential positive and negative.
Yeah.
There is a balance. There's a balance. So we call it curses. That's been something that's been said for decades or centuries.
I try to love my son, the same way I was loved, because I'm not going to say I'm trying to change what my father did. My father did an amazing job with me and all my brothers. So I try to love my son some of the ways that my father showed me. And then because I'm an adult now, I identify the areas that maybe I wanted more of.
Right. You paint your own picture.
And then I give that.
But all three of us, we had a mom and a dad.
Correct.
What about somebody who don't have a dad at all?
That's
what I'm saying? We got a lot of that going on out here.
Now,
your dad was more present than mine. I remember my dad coming to space, but my dad went to prison. You know what I mean? But he still was able to make an impact on my life. What we're seeing now, I believe, is a lot of absent fathers,
That's a great point.
and broken families. That haven't came to any type of level of consciousness to address those problems. I'm a firm believer that you do need, some type of father figure. Even if it's not your dad, somebody has to step in there.
You need a leadership role.
And take a leadership role from a male perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You need that balance to help them out. And so now we got a lot of kids that come out with emotional imbalance.
Mm-hmm.
The rationale is different. 1 to 10 is now. It ain't no in between.
Yeah, we talked about that conflict resolution.
Conflict resolution. Yeah, so it happens. It happens, and it's and it won't change until we make the decision ourselves. And a lot of times it's our friends that's around us that kind of spark that. What, I probably need to do better than what I'm doing.
The scary thing is I don't know. I mean, obviously we're not going to be around forever. It's scary to not know what's at the end of the road, right? So, we can put in all this effort to break these curses, but to your point, there's so many variabilities, right? So regardless of the things that we try to shelter our children from and equip the next generation, whether it be our kids or not. I mean, like I said, you do a lot in the community, you mentor kids. So as much as, the both of you try to instill in people outside of your immediate family, the world is a crazy place.
Yeah.
So,
man.
Everything that you guys put out there can potentially just be completely erased. And I guess that's the challenge with quote unquote generational curses, because there's too many influences out there.
Well, it takes a certain amount of time for something to become a habit.
Yeah, that doesn't
Period.
happen overnight. That's one of the things that come years of consistency.
Yeah, being present. It's no. I take for me example because I can only relate to my life. Leaving here from down south and my parents going to college, I was by myself. Well, even though it wasn't that far away from my grandparents, I had never been away from my parents before. But the transition after that, when I left college and I moved to New York and I was by myself, they was wide open up there. Like, oh, I was like, oh, y'all like big guys for real. You know?
One time for the one time, hit and run.
Yeah, it was a lot of hitting and running. But you know, I was caught off guard, man. It's like I was exposed to things I hadn't been exposed to.
A whole different world, man.
And if it wasn't for the foundation my mom put on me and my dad as well, I don't think I might have been in this spot where I'm at now.
Yeah.
You know, I was still able to have the presence of mind to say, "Hey, that's not right."
Right.
You know, because you're gonna see a lot of stuff that you ain't gonna that you haven't seen before, and so we can only hope that we pass on those good parts
Absolutely.
Right.
to our kids.
You gotta find the positive of it at every
Yeah.
situation. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope I pass it on, man, because we're not around them all the time.
Absolutely. That's what I'm
Just
saying.
like you wasn't. You know what I'm saying? Some of us tried some stuff, and some of us didn't. You know, you might have tried this and put on the brakes over here.
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's all can be attributed to your parents.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe I'm not supposed to do that. You know, and this is my last point here. I told my kids and my sons, I said, when I'm not around, you ought to be able to hear my voice.
I like that.
That's when I know I ain't talk. If you're not hearing my voice, I ain't talking enough to you. You know what I'm saying? When you get in those moments where ain't nobody around you and you don't know and you got to make a decision, what
Absolutely.
would my dad tell me?
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because you know you got to lean on that. You know, I remember I could hear my mama talking to me.
Boy, don't you do that.
Boy, don't you
I
do
could,
that, for real.
yeah. She's like, Chadwick, now you know better. I was like, well, okay. I was like, okay, well, you know, and I can hear my dad talking. You got, you know, your mama wants you to do it anyway. I can hear my dad saying that. You know, even I know he, you know, I was like, Mama don't know what she's talking about, and Dad used to say, you know, your mama wants you to do that. Do what your mama asks you to do because she wants you to do it. It don't matter if it makes sense to you. Do it anyway. I can remember him whispering in my damn ear. I can remember. I can hear him. You know what I'm saying? And so that's why I tell my kids, I want you. You should hear my voice, me and your mom's voice, in times when you need us the most. Yeah, you should hear us. If you're not, I ain't talking to us. So therefore, every morning I'm talking to you every day. Hey, what you doing? Hey.
Fact. Yeah, but I mean we tapped into, you know, the psyche and the habits. You know, unfortunately, I don't have any experience with, you know, addiction or anything like that. But you know,
well, I don't either. CP, you can't be looking at me like,
Yeah, but don't
unlike you know, cocaine.
he like this.
Yeah, unlike you know,
So
you've been snorting lines of cocaine and you've been in orgies and all this. So I know there's nothing left for you to do.
but I'm just trying to.
Everybody out there, that wasn't me. So it might have been Chris.
Nah, I'm just trying to be understanding and I guess empathetic for the situations in which a person may not necessarily have as much control, right? So we talk about our parents and, you know, again, habits and resources, but like I said, you know, generational curses are, you know, psychological, disease even. You know what I mean? That's, you know, disease, addiction. So, I mean, I think that's a wide open topic, and I don't think that there's a one fix for all. But, you know, obviously, you know, my takeaway from the things that I've experienced in life and things that have worked for me would be a social network, man. You know, a lot of people, like you said, are depressed and they feel like they're alone, but I think the only thing that's kept me on the straight and narrow is those outlets. You know what I mean? We've known each other almost 20 years, you know, and there's countless times to where my parents were unaware of some of the antics, you know, back in the day. But I mean, yeah, I mean, I've had plenty of situations where you came and
it's a village effect, brother.
Right.
It's given. Yeah, we know what's right, man.
Yeah.
And I think everybody needs a big homie in their life.
There you go.
You know what I'm saying? I had a big homie too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I got big homies now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So everybody, it's just all love here, man.
Right.
And it's okay. And I think one of the most important things I've learned as a grown man, I've surrounded myself with friends that tell me they love me. Guys.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It feel funny. You like, well,
But that's the thing. Like
you know
you
what I'm
said,
saying?
that's
That little,
overcoming that.
yeah, it's overcoming that, man. But they truly love just truly means that I have your best interest in mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I have your best interest in mind. I care about how you and your family are doing and your progress as a person. And you need that.
Yeah.
You need that. And that's a huge gap in people that's not getting that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I'm one of the lucky ones to have friends around me that know the bad and the good, and they'll tell me, what I need to hear, whether I like it or not.
Absolutely.
And everybody don't get to have that adult conversation, with somebody else that, that quote unquote love them. So,
Yeah. I've learned to write stuff down too, man. It's crazy. When I went to college, there's one professor that made an impact on my life. The day that I get married, I vowed that he'll be at my wedding. First day in his class, we sat down and he said, welcome to so-and-so. My name is Dr. So-and-so. First thing I want the class to do, forget everything that you learned. Literally, first day of class, he said, when you walk into my classroom, I want you to forget everything that you've learned in your life. I don't care if it was your parents. I don't care if it was your pastor. I don't care who taught it to you. Forget everything you learned, and you're going to open your mind this year to forming your own ideas, own opinions, and own conceptions about life. So that's not discrediting, morals and values of what you know is wrong and right, but it goes back to what you said. A lot of what is passed down to us is simply what somebody handed us. I wouldn't be, some people wouldn't be Catholic unless if their parents didn't grow up Catholic. What makes you bond to that religion?
What made you select doing?
Correct.
Out of all the religions, whether it be Catholic or whatever, what made you choose it?
Because
my
mom. Exactly.
Right. Well,
exactly.
I'm Democrat because my mom was
Exactly.
Democrat.
We want to say no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think enough of us form our own identity and own just perception on what really holds value to us and what our life is, man. But as far as breaking these curses, man, I would just advise you guys to, I think we've touched on a lot of things. Utilize your social network. It's unfortunate that I understand everybody doesn't have a social network. Write things down. We internalize a whole lot, man.
Manifest things, man.
We internalize a whole lot. So, if you have goals or you want to, overcome certain obstacles, write this stuff down. Write down your thoughts, your ideas. Write down, where you want to be. Write down steps to get there. And, it's not going to be an easy journey. I don't think it was an easy journey for any of us. And I don't think it's a ever-ending journey, breaking these quote-unquote curses and habits. Like you said, it takes time.
Yeah, we're going to always be learning. We're always evolving.
So, when you're going through these things, personally, you've got plenty of options, people. So try to utilize all your options. Know that you're not alone, and know that there's light at the end of the tunnel. Great. But it is time for the next portion of the show. I think everybody knows my favorite portion of the show, Dear Black People. As ritual on this show, Dear Black People is an opportunity for the cast to address the public, the black community, including anyone outside the black community. We don't discriminate. But it's our time to address you guys with anything that's on our heart, our mind, and our soul that we feel we need to speak to. Chris Pope, let's kick it off.
Dear Black people, know your worth. Know that you're enough, and know that you can do anything you put your mind to. Like Corey said, or CP. Sorry.
We're in formation now.
No, but seriously though, man. Man, if you want to be the next big, sports announcer or the next billionaire, the next big thing, write it down. Really believe in what you want to manifest because it can be done. We are in the easiest time to be millionaires or billionaires because it's so wide open. I saw an 8-year-old kid. He's like a billionaire or a millionaire because he sells bicycles. 8 years old, and he sells it on YouTube. He shows it on YouTube. So when I saw that, I'm like, man, like if 8-year-old kid can do it, like I can do it. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. This generation is the easiest outlet of getting where you want to be, because we have all the platforms, we have social media, we have all these social network events. You know, we have all these different things that we can go to, that we can put ourselves out there. So, yeah, my people, do everything you gotta do to get where you need to get.
Great positive note. What's on my spirit is not so positive today. I believe in tough love, so I think sometimes we as a community need to hear it. So, dear Black people, it's time to grow up. A lot of us walk around with these liberal, free-spirited mindsets, and I'm all for that. But not enough of us have discipline or a plan to get to where we want to go. We're unhappy as a community. I think that we are disadvantaged. I think that's no secret. But we're unhappy, but there's no follow through to change some of those feelings. So I challenge each and every one of you to grow up, to stop making the same mistakes over and over and complaining about the space that you're in. To start writing things down and setting a strategic path forward to get to the point that you say you want to be. It's not going to be handed to you. So the only person that can fail you is you. Black people, it's time to grow up.
All right. My dear Black people is, well, first and foremost, we had a tragic loss this week in the sports world. I'm a
Absolutely.
big, avid sports fanatic. Anybody that knows me knows that. And in the death of Kobe Bryant and the other, 8 victims that were there. But I learned a lot from watching him. But always, totally working on yourself and persevering. But my dear Black people was just about being fair. Being fair in terms of when somebody allows you to borrow money from them, pay that money back. Pay the money back. Why I gotta come find you? Why I gotta come find you for my money? And then when I ask you about it, it's like I'm stealing it from you. No, that's my money. I got friends out there now. You know who you are. I done let you borrow. I don't give a damn if it's $1 or $1,500. It's still mine until I tell you, you know what, it's okay. But if we ain't had that it's okay conversation, I have the expectation between us as adults for you to give me my money back, or Skrilla, Scratch, whatever you want to call it, dinero, mucho dinero, any of that stuff. I need my money. I need my money. And we got a bad habit of, doing people that we don't know better than the people that we do know. You know what I mean? I've been there with you. You come to me at a hard time, or come to anybody at a hard time, and we ask them to help us out of a hole, but then you forget about me. Don't do that. Black people don't do that. That's how people get hurt out here. Not hurt from me, but that's how you get cut off. And another thing, I'm sick of people posting, hey, I'm cutting these people off. Maybe you cut yourself off. And, sometimes look at yourself. Look at yourself. If you the common denominator in X, Y, Z, T, R, and S relationships, maybe it's you. Maybe it's you, and it all goes back to self-actualization and self-analyzation. Self-actualization, self-analyzation. Right. Look at yourself. Yeah. Look at yourself. Be better. Be better, and that's one thing I took from this week. Work to be better. Be fair with people. That's what my dad used to always tell me. At the end of the day, just be fair with people, man. Don't take my money and then don't think you got to, pay it back, or borrow something from me and don't give it back. Man, that's wrong. You know, then if I end up busting your mouth and you got the jack-o'-lantern in the mouth, it's on me. And because I'm bigger than everybody, he's aggressive, he's mean, he's on steroids. He's a monster. Nah, it ain't that. You gonna give me my money. How about that? And that's my dear black people for today. I didn't mean to rant. And that just doesn't pertain to black people. We call it that. That can go either way, for any race or any culture. However, we was talking about black people, and that's who I deal with on a daily basis most of the time. So it's geared towards you. So if you owe me my money, give my money.
Nah, good stuff, good stuff. Well, that concludes this episode of Talk to Me Nice. Hope you guys enjoyed the content, the dialogue. As always, feel free to drop a comment, suggestion, and we're taking topic suggestions. If there's anything that we maybe didn't hit on that you guys want to hear a little bit more about, or if there's anything in the black community that you feel the Talk to Me Nice cast should address publicly, let us know. Drop a line. I am proud to say that we have went viral, guys. Like good job. We went pretty good on the social media audio platforms.
Oh, you right?
Yeah, so Talk to Me Nice is out there, and I'm excited about it. The team is excited about it. We hope you guys are enjoying the show. Continue to listen. But definitely just wanted to shout out. I know everybody uses different platforms for podcasts. So just to let you guys know, we are now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor FM, Breaker, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Overcast, Pocket Cast, and you can catch all the visuals on YouTube. Good stuff, guys. Good stuff.
Dope. Dopeness and awesomeness all together.
Absolutely.
Bam.
Well, as usual, let's go around the room and let the people know where they can contact us.
You guys can contact me on my Instagram, PolkFit, POLKFIT. And I have Facebook as well, Chris Polk, CHRIS, POLK. And I do have my internet browser, my website.
There you go.
www.polkfit.net.
#1 trainer in Dallas.
And I'm Von Solo, a.k.a. Big Von 78. You can catch me at Big Von 78 on Instagram and Von Solo on the other platforms.
Y'all know what it is, man. It's your boy CP The Real. Catch me on Instagram, CP_The Real. The link in the bio will provide you access to all of our streaming platforms. Thanks for tuning in. We are going to continue to talk our shit because talking shit makes us feel good.
That's right.
We hope you continue to talk yours.
We out.